The only other thing I wanted to say, because I think I've failed to say this anytime I've ever been here, on the book table over here is a sign-up sheet for my email newsletter. And once a month, I send out a newsletter. It has book and movie recommendations and reviews. Of course, it has information about my books and things like that. But and definitely an essay, a video, something inspirational. So if you would like to sign up for that, you can do that there or at my website, which is just michaellister.com. So with that, I want to say that on the cusp, on the edge of this new year, it came to me, it occurred to me that looking forward in this new year, and what a gift it is, that the book of life that you and I are writing only has blank pages. Only blank pages moving forward in the book of life. This year is untouched. And it is truly up to us what fills these pages. And maybe when you think about your year, you know, that's not the kind of journal. Maybe you're something more like this. You know, this one has lines. But this one, how many of you would rather not have lines? And it's a little prettier. You get to choose what your book of life looks like and what you fill it with. Now there's also, just if you want to be ultra cool and sleek, you can go with the black little moleskin pocket edition of your book of life. But either way, no matter what you go with, this is what you have to work with. And I would like to suggest today that the very best thing we can do, the best way we can fill the pages of our lives, is to take a novel approach. Yes. And to be as creative as possible. And so what I want to talk to you today about is creativity, the how of creativity, the stages of creativity, the process of creativity. And you may say, well, wait now, I'm not a novelist. Why do I need to learn about creativity? I'm not a painter. I'm not a musician. I'm not a photographer. I'm not a videographer. I'm not an actor. Why do I need to hear anything about creativity? Whether you know it or not, whether you live it or not, you are an artist. And for each of us, the main art of our lives are our lives themselves. The approach we take, how we fill the pages, how we open ourselves up to have the best possible lives that we can. Our lives are such a gift. And the fact that we get to choose how to spend them, what to do with them. There has not been a government, a religious organization, a technology. There has been nothing created that can control how and what you think. Only you get to do that. At his power, Hitler could not control thought. And if anyone has ever had their thoughts influenced, controlled, brainwashed, whatever, it's because they submitted to it. Because you, your mind, your essence, your quiddity, your whatness is autonomously yours and yours alone. And the best way for you to be who you are, to have your best life possible, is to be creative, is to open yourself up to the process of creativity. I spend my life creating. Mostly in the form of novels, But I try to take a creative approach to everything I do. And I'm here today to tell you there's no better way to live. No better way to live than to live creatively. I'm going to go a step further. I am not here to say that creativity will solve all of your problems. But I am here to say that taking a creative approach to your life will solve most of your problems. Creativity is not going to enable you to live forever. You're still going to die. And so am I. But taking a creative approach to life will give you the best life possible. I want to, first of all, say that I want to read a scripture from the book of Hebrews, because this, to me, epitomizes creativity and the creative process. It's Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Any of you see I believe it was the third Indiana Jones film? They were looking for the Holy Grail, the cup of Christ. Remember that? Anybody see it? It's been a while. But when they finally get to I haven't seen it in decades, but when they finally get to the place where supposedly the cup of Christ is, there's a large gulf between where they are and where the room where the cup of Christ is supposed to be. And there is enormous, vast, open, and deep. And there's no way across. No way to get. Now, we've spent 2 hours of this film trying to get to this point, to get to this room, to get to this cup, and they reach a precipice, and they can go no further. And as Indy is thinking about the cup of Christ and faith and the message of Jesus, it occurs to him, well, faith must be involved. Faith, like the creative process that says you have to take the first step before you see anything, before there's any evidence. That is what is required for creativity. Every single day when I turn on my computer, you know what I'm faced with? The blank page. You know what I love? The blank page. And that little blinking cursor that says, what's next? What's next? What do you got to say, bub? Come on. Let's have it. And I give it to her good. Every single day, pouring my soul out onto the page, into that work. We need to do the same thing in our lives. So Indy says, I'm going to take the first step. There's no evidence. The only thing that appears to happen is that he is going to plunge to his death. But when he steps out, risks his life, he takes that step, and there's something there. And there's something there. And then he takes dust or something out of his pocket, and he throws it, and the path that was invisible appears. That is creativity. That is the kind of faith-filled lives we're intended to lead. I know you are sitting here today with things that you have not accomplished yet, that you were put here to do, that you're meant to do. I'm here to tell you, if you will hear this, this can be the year that you finally do them. Those things that are holding you back, those things that have kept you from taking that courageous step of faith, you can do. You can do it. This can be the time. The creative process has, I'm going to say, 5 stages. I think most experts agree that there are 5 stages to the creative process. The thing to realize about the creative process, which is extremely cool, is that the entire process uses both the left and right sides of the brain. And that the stages of creativity use different neural networks in your brain, and it actually connects them in ways that they would not otherwise be connected. These 5 stages are, number 1, the preparation stage. Number 2, the incubation stage. Number 3, the insight stage. Number 4, the evaluation stage. And number 5, the elaboration stage. That was pretty fast, wasn't it? Okay, I'm going to go back. The first one is the preparation stage. In 1994, when I became a novelist, that's when I was born as a novelist, the summer of 1994. It happened because of all the preparation that went before it. It happened because of every single book I had ever read. It happened because of every single writing book I had ever read. It happened because of every single writing class I had ever taken. It happened because of every single story I had ever heard was in me. And as some wise writer said, a writer is a reader moved to emulation. I was touched by literature. My response was to create it. The summer of 94, when it happens, it didn't come out of nowhere. It came out of all the preparation that went before. Additionally, today, in January of 2016, is that right? This afternoon, when I opened that laptop and I put my hands on that keyboard, every single thing that came before was preparation for the work I do today. In the same way that speaking to you today and getting to share with you is a result of decades of study, decades of speaking, decades of doing this. Preparation. The thing you need to know about creative work is that all our practice is cumulative. The stuff you did in first grade will help you in your creative work today. Or it can if you will let it. That's the preparation stage. The preparation stage is long. It is. Then there's the incubation stage. You've put all that in you. And then those seeds that have been planted need to grow. Those seeds that are put in you need to have good, rich soil that you feed and water and nurture so they can grow. Preparation leads to incubation. Put in. Let it grow. Let it incubate. Then the next stage is the insight stage. Now, this stage, let's also call it the lightning bolt stage, is what most people associate with creativity. They say, wow, that amazing, insightful, creative, unique thought I just had that just connected so many different things, that's creativity. And you have nothing to do with it. You're just walking along, minding your own business, doing your thing, and bam, you get a wow. But no, had there not been the preparation, had there not been the incubation, there could not be the insight stage. Now, what I'm talking about today is the creative process, and it works with whether you're painting a painting, writing a novel, whatever it might be, but it also works just in daily life, in any kind of work you do, in any kind of pursuit you have in just life itself. And one of the best things you can do is when you're doing your work is to, at some point, step away. Now, this is how it works. I promise you, try this. You're working hard, you're studying, maybe you're doing homework, maybe you're doing work for your business, maybe you're trying to figure out your relationship and your life, whatever it is. You're working hard and you're putting stuff in and you're thinking about it and you're working on it, which you should. You should do all of that. But then, put it down and go for a walk. Put it down and go for a drive. Put it down and go take a shower. Put it down and vacuum or rake the leaves or mow the grass. That's how it happens. Then it comes to you. The best way to have these insights, the best way to have these connections come together is when you take this, you do it this way, and you not only take a break, and I'm going to tell you, the American way is usually we press through. We don't stop. You don't stop until it's done. You keep on hammering away. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to get this. I'm going to do this. And by not stopping, and that's an important part of the process, but by not stopping and stepping away, we don't get the lightning bolt. We don't get the insight that brings it all together. So stepping away is key, but then researchers tell us that it's also a good idea to be doing a sort of thoughtless, mindless activity like vacuuming, like raking, some little physical activity that frees your mind, but keeps your body focused and doing something. That's how creativity works. That's how our minds work. What I'm telling you is how our minds actually work. I was standing at a little cocktail party at a literary event, and as often happens, you sort of find yourself with a small group and you talk. And at things like that, you usually are talking about literature and film and things that I'm really into. And so it's cool. And we were standing there talking, and I was in the middle of describing this film that I had seen that I really, really liked. And I was trying to think of the actor's name or the director's name, and I just couldn't come up with it. I was standing there trying to come up with it because I wanted to share this thing that was so important to me. And one of the other authors in the group said, hey, talk about something else. Think about something else. Put your mind somewhere else and it'll come to you. And that's exactly what happened. The moment I did something, boom, it came to me. Now, you know that feeling of driving home, and then it comes to you like, oh, that's what I was trying to tell them. That's what I meant to, because you've started this little physical activity like driving, and it opens up something inside of you, and it occurs. That's the insight stage. It could not happen without the preparation, without incubation, then the insight comes. But then that's not over. That's the only part of the process. And a lot of times people have that insight, and that's it. If you stop on step 3, stage 3, and you have the insight and you don't do anything with it, you can walk around and be very proud of yourself for the insight you had. You can feel really good. It's like, and I think I've said this to you before, but it's like you sitting here today and having good thoughts and leaving feeling good and not changing anything in your life, not making the world a better place in any way, not helping someone in need. Then what the hell are you doing here? If there's no betterment to your life or to the world, then all you're doing is feeling good. Is that good in and of itself? Sure, I'm happy for you to feel good. But think about what would happen if you take what we're talking about today and you actually apply it. And you go back and you look at that place that you've not been able to break through in your relationship, in your business, in your work, in your creative process, in your life. And you say, I'm going to apply this. I'm going to do something, not just think, not just look, not just observe, not just have a good feeling because I heard something that was inspiring or encouraged me, but I'm actually going to take it and do that brave thing that Indy did and step out there. Good things will happen. So after you have the insight, the next stage is evaluation. You have to evaluate the insight you had. You have to also submit it to others. If you want to be crazy, kooky, you can have these beautiful thoughts and insights that you think are just revelation from God herself. And if you don't submit them to a community, if you don't have accountability, if you don't have feedback, then you can just go, you can get crazier and crazier and crazier, and eventually you will be God and you will be, a mess. But if you have community, if you have feedback, if you have evaluation, if you yourself learn critical thinking, if you will do what I do with my novels, I have the preparation, I have the incubation, I have the insights that are just amazing. And you get into this process, and like I said, it doesn't happen until you start it, until you take that step of faith, and you're working, and then connections start happening, and you're like, where did that come from, and how, and oh my goodness, and I wake up every morning anxious to get the keyboard to see what happens next, and that's an incredible process. When I finish that part of the process, I take that thing that I've created and I put it away. And then later, after time has passed, after I have a little distance, I come back to it. And I try to look at it with some objectivity, with my editorial hat on, as a reader instead of the writer of it. And then when I look at it, I can say, wow, I felt so good about this passage, and it sucks. I mean, it is so bad. It doesn't matter how good I felt when I was writing it. And this other one over here, boy, was I having a bad day. I didn't sleep well. I was tired and ill, and I was out of sorts. But man, this is a keeper. This passage is going to stay, and it really didn't matter how I felt when I was doing it, because it's good. And I can evaluate it. But I don't stop there. Then I give it to my wife and certain friends and my editor, and I say, let me have it. Evaluate it. Give me feedback. Take your insights that you're so proud of and you think are so unique, and be willing to submit them to evaluation, to yourself and others. And then finally, the fifth stage is elaboration, where you then really, the work begins, where you invest and you form and you bring all this together. The creative process is about the very thing that life is about, that matters most in life, that I think we're here for, and that is connection. You and I were created to connect. When we're not connecting, something's missing. When we are connecting, we're enriched. Our lives are so much better. We're so much more fulfilled. And we're better people because we're making connections. Creativity is about connecting. Creativity, and that's why I said you do it in community and you get feedback and you make connections. And the other thing that happens in creativity is that this preparation stage I talked about and incubation, you're actually building on the work of others. You'll be hard-pressed. In fact, I don't think you could read a single novel of mine that you wouldn't find quotes from other people, other writers, other thinkers, other historical figures. But it goes way beyond that. Because had I not read the work of Hemingway and Shakespeare and McCarthy and Parker and Chandler and Hammett and Christie and on and on and on, I would not have the work that I do. Blood Cries, my latest that comes out in the next few weeks. When I started writing the first scene, a little Hamlet came to me and worked its way in. A little Bob Seger came to me and worked its way in. And a lot of other things. Part of the creative process is this connection that is building on the work of others, also borrowing, let's be honest, stealing from the work of others. The better artist you are means you're stealing from better artists. You're stealing from the right people. Now, very quickly, I just want to go over how you can be more creative. I'm going to do this quick and just give you a few of these to think about and take with you, and hope it helps you in your process. Number one, you have to be open. If you're going to be creative, you have to be open. You have to be open-minded, open-souled. You have to keep your eyes open. You have to be aware. You have to be present in this present moment and know what's going on and let it in. Most of the time, the most creative things that happen to us happen out of the corner of our eye. It's not where I'm directly, and if I'm paying attention, if I'm listening, if I am open, I'm going to get it. I see it. If I'm not, it's going to pass by and I'm going to miss it. Are you sitting down? Because I got something really heavy to share with you. That you're going to think, man, how does he have this kind of insight and wisdom? To be so young, it's just amazing. The creative process is a process. Did you hear that? You're wowed, aren't you? You're like, good God. To be creative is to get messy, get involved in the process. That's true of your lives. If you are removed, if you're too far back, if you're not in the trenches, if you're not engaged, if you're not on the battlefield, if you're not in the arena, if you are not rolling up your sleeves and getting down in it, you're not involved in the process. And the process needs to be honored by us because the process is sacred. The process is life. And the next part of this, I will tell you, is the key to being creative in this process is practice, practice, practice. You will be good at what you practice. For some of you, that should scare the hell out of you because you practice worry, you practice fear, you practice failure, you practice cowardice, you practice gossip. You practice tearing down instead of building up. But guess what? You can change that. This year has not been written. You can change all of that, and you can start to practice other things. You can practice peace. You can practice love. You can practice creativity. And it can make your life 1,000,000,000 times better. It's up to you. You can do it. Practice, practice, practice. I've told you before, experts say it takes 10 years or 10,000 hours of doing something the right way to get really proficient at it. So it's time to get started. But the nice thing about it is it's all cumulative. It adds up. So anything you've done before will be added to it. The next part of the creative process, you have to, are you listening to me? You have to figure out how to do it your damn self. I can't tell you how you can be creative. I can't tell you how to do your process. Only you can. Because the whole key to creativity is originality, is uniqueness, is autonomy, and here's the wonderful thing about it, being creative is just you being yourself, being true to your soul, being true to who you are. If you will do that, if you will honor who you are, if you will honor, as we talked about earlier, the spark that is in you, if you will honor the gift and gifts that have been put in you, if you will honor those, you will be creative. You will be unique. You will be one of a kind. Creativity is that simple, but you know how hard it is to be yourself? Do you know how much pressure the world and culture and family and friends and bosses are putting on you to be something other than what you are? And your job is only to push back on that and be yourself. You have to figure out. I remember when I wanted to be a novelist, and I've learned that creativity happens in community, and I went and submitted myself. One of the best things I ever did was found Lynn Wallace, a creative writing teacher at Gulf Coast Community College or State College. Many of you probably have him or known of his work. He's a wonderful writer, a great teacher. Well, 22 years later, 23 years later, Lynn is one of the best friends I've ever had, because I didn't just take his class. I sought him out and I said, let's be friends. Let's have a relationship. Let me sponge it up. Let me learn everything I can. Let me be able to practice, get the feedback, submit myself to this process. But I ask person after person, how do you do it? How do you do it? How do you do it? And they can only say, well, this is how I do it. But you've got to figure out how you do it. You need to question your assumptions. You need to change your perspective. You need to reframe the problem. And you say, dude, let me tell you something. I work in mathematics. Creativity is not a good thing in math, because 5 plus 5 always equals what? What does it equal? 5 plus 5 equals 10. Okay, I'll give you that. Point to you. But what about this? What if you take that number 10 and you say, are there any other ways to get to this? Like 9 plus 1? Or 4 plus 6? Or 7 plus 3? I mean, I'm not even good at math, and look what I just did. Look at it in a different light. Say okay, yes, 5 plus 5 is 10, but you can get to 10 other ways. Now, I have never understood this thing about skinning a cat. I don't know why anybody would want to do that. I don't know. To me, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of different ways to do it. But it is said that there are a number of ways to skin a cat. So there are a number of ways to do a lot of things. I've got so many more, but I'm going to just say that you have to fully commit, embrace the creative way of life, make these connections I've been talking about with others, with your art, with the divine, and you have to put, in my case, your ass in the chair and do the work. There's a lot of people who want to be writers. There's a lot of people who want a book out. Oh, it'd be so nice to have a book. But they don't want to sit there hour after hour after hour, day after day after day, week after week, month after year after year to do the work. They say, oh, I would love to have a book. I would love to have written. I just don't want to write. You know what they're saying? I don't want to do the process. I don't want to fully commit and engage and do the work. Do the work. Why? Because Edison said genius is 1% inspiration, lightning bolt. It's 99% perspiration. You have to do the work. You can't sit around and wait for enlightenment and inspiration. If you do the preparation, if you let it incubate, it's going to come. But you don't sit around and say, I have writer's block. I can't write today. Any contractors in here? Anybody build? Have you ever woke up this morning and said, I have contractor's block today. Sorry, boss, I can't come in. Jack London said this, and I love this. You can't wait for inspiration. You have to go after it with a club. That's nice. Now, I'm going to give you 2 reasons, and then I'm done, why I think you probably aren't really honoring the creative process and being as creative as you possibly can. 2 reasons. It all comes down to fear, but the 2 things are, 1 is failure, and 2 is criticism. And I promise you this, if you live a creative life, if you create, if you put yourself out there, if you are vulnerable and naked, which is what it takes to be creative, you are going to fail and you are going to be criticized. What's the saying that failure is not an option? I totally agree. It is an inevitability. You're going to fail. So what? That shouldn't stop us from doing what we do. Everything is a relative failure. I feel reasonably good about what I'm sharing with you today. It's not the best I could do, but it's the best I can do right now. I'll try to do better next time. I'm giving you my best, but when I look at all I have here and I'm running out of time, I'm like, man, I didn't get to it all. Maybe I should have talked faster. Maybe I should have said less of this and more of that. And it's a failure. Maybe I'm succeeding in some ways. Maybe I'm getting through. Maybe I'm inspiring you. I hope I am. I'm certainly doing it for me. But it could be better, couldn't it? Show of hands. Couldn't it be better? Everything is a relative failure. Edison said, I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Winston Churchill, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. If you know you're going to fail, then you get over it and you're like, okay, I'm going to fail. So what? Beckett, ever tried, ever failed? No matter. Try again, fail better. Finally, you are going to be criticized. Guess what? Even if you're not creative, you're going to be criticized. So get over it. But if you're creative and if you really put yourself out there, you're going to be criticized like you have never experienced in your life. You're going to be open and vulnerable, and you're going to say, I've poured my soul out. This is it. And people are going to attack you, how you look, how you smell, how you talk. Occasionally, they'll say something bad about the work itself. Most of the time, it's just real personal and mean. And you're like, damn, I did not sign up for this. But yes, we are signing up for this when we're creative. And man, this is one of my favorite quotes in the world. I'm going to read it to you. I'm asking you to put it in your soul today, okay? Theodore Roosevelt. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer, not the talker, not the thinker, the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again because there is no effort without error or shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. I beg of you today, with this new year you've been given, don't be a cold, timid soul who doesn't try, who doesn't strive, who's not creative. Get in the arena, get bloody and marred and scarred, and do something. Your life will be so much better. Thank you.